This video was made possible with the help of my lovely patrons. On February 20th, 2026, Manon Bannerman, a member of the hybe geffen girl group Katseye, announced that she was going on a hiatus from the group. An official announcement from hybe geffen read, "After open and thoughtful conversations together, we are sharing that Manon will be taking a temporary hiatus from group activities to focus on her health and well-being. We fully support this decision. Katseye remains committed to showing up for one another and for the fans who mean everything to us. The group will continue scheduled activities during this time, and we look forward to being together again when the time is right." This led to mass speculation from fans and non-fans alike as to what was happening behind the scenes. Was she physically ill? Was she mentally okay? Does that mean that she's leaving the group? Manon then put out a statement to her fans on Weverse writing, "Hi friends, I want you to hear this from me. I'm healthy, I'm okay, and I'm taking care of myself. Thank you for checking in. Sometimes things unfold in ways we don't fully control, but I'm trusting the bigger picture. Thank you endlessly and can't wait to see you again." This statement, though reassuring that she's physically okay and taking care of herself, has led to even more speculation as parts of it remained vague. Like what sorts of things unfolded that she couldn't control? Are hybe geffen discriminating against her or doing shady shit behind the scenes we don't know of? I also want to say that it's weird how hybe geffen's post talks about how she's stepping down because of her health, but then she says that she's totally fine and that some things are just out of her control, and then she goes on to like this video about how black girls are mistreated in girl groups. So yeah, it's not meshing. Obviously, she doesn't owe it to us to tell us everything. She probably legally can't anyway as an employee of the label. We don't know what's in their contracts, and honestly, wherever life takes her, I just wish her all the best. Fans have noticed that she still has Katseye in her Instagram bio, meaning that she hasn't actually contractually left the group, and this is really just a break. On the other hand, she has followed Normani on Instagram, aligning herself with another black member of a former girl group, indicating that the reason why she has taken this break, as many onlookers have guessed, as it wasn't exactly subtle, was due to racism that she's faced since Dream Academy, in which the producers of the reality show, aka Bang Si-hyuk, the chairman of hybe, gave her the lazy black girl storyline in which she had to redeem herself in some way. The subsequent behind-the-scenes Netflix docuseries Popstar Academy Katseye, produced by hybe, really highlighted this idea that she didn't deserve to be there, even though they flew her out to LA specifically because she was scouted as a potential member. What a mindfuck. They really told on themselves, didn't they? But we'll get more into that later. More recently, another member's dad, Daniela's dad to be exact, Raphael, a grown-ass man, commented essentially good riddance to Manon, writing, "The show must go on, Katseye is bigger than just one girl, 5 members is okay too, and come back when you're ready to work." Just racist asshole behavior. He even wrote that Daniela is better than Lisa because she's Latina and Asians are inferior dancers. I guess just genetically. I am patiently waiting for the other girls in the group to defend Manon publicly, and they have in the past talked about how hard it is to be in the spotlight and how much the group's diversity means to them, and they seem to be all really close, and I do think they care about one another behind closed doors, but in the end, we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. And in my mind, though there has been talk that Manon was forced to take this hiatus as seen from the things I can't control line, I do think something legally is going on there. I wouldn't be surprised if Manon isn't getting her bag or fair cut, and that she's the first one to walk off set because of it. I also wouldn't be surprised if more girls followed suit. In my mind, they couldn't reach an appropriate number considering she's the visual of the group. She's always in the thumbnail and in the center for ads, but when it came time to pay up, I wouldn't be surprised if hybe doesn't want to pay her as much because of her race and the racial and gender pay gap. I also think that hybe for a long time has been okay showcasing Manon to prove that they care about racial diversity and progressive values, but then hit her during the debut choreography, depicted her as difficult to work with in Dream Academy, and then the fans in turn have internalized this narrative of what they saw in the doc and are always talking about when she misses a live performance or a practice. Whenever Manon is missing, it's a huge deal, but when another member misses a performance or a practice, it's noticed, but it's not part of a larger racist stereotype of being lazy or ungrateful. Black girls are less likely to be bullied when they're sick or when they're in pain because they're just supposed to pull through and be superheroes, because black women are seen as both less than human and more immune to pain, but also more than human and seen as like these ultra powerful figures figures who will take care of you and be your shoulder to cry on. There's no winning. So in this video, I want to delve into the events that I believe led up to why Manon is taking this hiatus, though of course a lot of it is just my own thoughts and predictions and observations, as I'm not a fly in that house. But I do think the group has been fairly public as to how they don't have all the control or privacy they'd like to, as well as discuss the larger picture of how labor and the culture of work is viewed in the US and South Korea, as opposed to countries like Switzerland where Manon is from. So without further ado, let's go. So like I said in the intro, the Netflix docuseries Pop Star Academy Katseye, which is a behind-the-scenes look at Dream Academy, both of which were produced with the help of Hybe, depicted Manon as different from the other girls to say the least. Unlike many contestants who auditioned and were put through training for weeks, if not months, Manon was scouted from social media due to her following and physicality. In my mind, Hybe wanted a black girl, but due to colorism and featureism and anti-black sentiment in South Korea, they didn't actually want a black girl to support and nourish. They wanted one to sell products and for diversity washing their brand. They're like the villains from the Cheetah Girls movie. And for Hybe to complete this diversity campaign, it meant finding someone with light skin, whiter features, who would be just diverse enough but not look too dark in their eyes. A lot of people have pointed out the paper bag test when it comes to Katseye. So Manon was brought out to LA even though she didn't necessarily know anything about K-pop or had this dream of being a trainee or debuting, and I think that's fine. When you're 21, Manon was 21 at the time of her training, you don't know what you really want to do with the rest of your life. Try everything and anything. Who knows, maybe this is something she could do. I find it so horrible how we try to tell kids when they're 18 that you need to choose something that you want to do forever. And sometimes it happens even younger, like with Daniela, who was brought up as a dancer from the age of 3, or Yoonchae, who's been in training since middle school. We live in a society where you have to have everything set in stone and find your dream and not waste your youth or you'll regret it, when it doesn't have to be like that. Most teenagers and early 20-somethings have no idea what they want to do for the rest of their life. Their brains are still forming, and so I found this theme of Dream Academy to be very toxic. You have to want this more than anything. You have to have had this dream since you were 5 years old and never stop working towards it 10,000 hours and all of this bullshit. It made me realize why movies like Perfect Blue exist. This is all to say that Manon was thrown into this world of trainees and dancers and singers, girls who have had this dream since they were little, and she was just kind of put there. And of course, all the other girls didn't like that. It was very unsubtle the way the group was formed because it was so obviously rigged, and that's not Manon's fault, it's Hybe Geffen's fault for putting these poor girls, some as young as 14, through this competitive process when they already knew who was going to make it and who wasn't. And Manon herself didn't really know how to interact with the other girls who had already formed bonds already, not to mention how the competition put the black trainees against each other because they knew that no more than one of them, to be honest, would be part of the final product. The psychological weight of that is unimaginable. Manon ended up living with her aunt during the training and also ended up missing practices because she was sick and needed to rest. She also wanted to have time for herself and to just relax and not to be constantly working, which is totally understandable. She was 21 years old. And the other girls gave her shit for it because she challenged their own ideas of work and labor. Why am I working so hard but am in the bottom, but she's coasting along doing less than me? How's that fair? Doesn't more work equal more reward? Isn't that what we're all taught as kids? And the sad thing is that the competition really took advantage of these young girls' mindsets that made them think that the whole thing was objective and fair because it so obviously wasn't. To me, it was obvious from the get-go that they wanted Daniela, Manon, Lara, and Sophia. The only two that they were up in the air with were Megan and Yoonchae. But obviously from the inside, it's harder to see the bigger picture. Manon later even ended up getting to Seoul late because she was fighting off a virus, and that of course only worked against her, and she knew that. Towards the end of the docuseries, they gave her this redemption arc, and she worked harder. It was as if she had to prove herself to us, even though again, they're the ones that put her in this competition and obviously wanted her there. She did end up making it to the final group despite everything, and I'm glad she did. I think that she's more than able to keep up with the other girls, and she doesn't need to prove herself to us. If anything, Hybe Geffen needs to answer as to why they made this a competition reality show to begin with. This is all to say that going into Katseye, this was Manon's narrative. The lazy one, the ungrateful one, the one who didn't deserve to be there. And this immediately set her up for failure because she took someone else's spot. And that's the hate that she's had to fight off ever since. Not only that she's the only black girl in the group in a very anti-black industry like K-pop and Hollywood, but also that she's undeserving. Manon herself has said, being called lazy, especially as a black girl, is not fair. Now I feel like I always need to put in extra work to prove something, even though I really don't. She has also even made a video talking about people who are being racist to her online, saying, how do you go online and be racist? I thought we left that shit behind. Are you not embarrassed? Like, what the fuck is wrong with people? That's something I have zero tolerance for. That's unhinged, and I feel like it has to be said at some point. In an interview with the BBC that aired in November 2025, Katseye even revealed that they've received thousands of death threats. Sophia, the group's leader, said, no human is supposed to receive that much feedback on something that they've created, and so we're learning to do what we want, work as hard as we can, know that we just did something we love, and try to stay off of that and not have that be our validation or the reason why we do what we do. Bannerman agreed, adding that their families and friends have also been on the receiving end of criticisms and even death threats. Possibly another hint as to how much hate Manon and even her family was receiving that we just don't really know about. Not to mention, like I said earlier, Raphael, a member's dad, Daniela's dad, going as far as to call Manon lazy. I just hope Daniela and the rest of the girls stick by her side because obviously the label isn't supporting her. Like many black girl group members before her, from Alex Reid to Leanne, Normani, and Fatou Samba, Manon was used as a diversity quota or a novelty, but didn't really receive support from the higher ups as far as I can tell. They hired her to sell products and to be a face, a visual if you will, but outside of that she's just an employee who they see as disposable. What's worse is that Hybe Geffen uses Katseye's diversity to sell products with progressive messaging, but they themselves only do that for profit. They want to profit off of progressive politics without really caring about those values or the people in their care. But racism will never be solved with an ad campaign. Since Katseye's viral moment with the Gap campaign, which some have argued only went viral because of the timing with Sweeney's ad campaign for American Eagle, they haven't really gone viral outside of the fandom since. They wrapped their Beautiful Chaos tour, they had another brand collab with the beauty brand Laneige, but that didn't really go viral, and they had their Grammy performance of Gnarly, which received mixed to negative reviews from the public who weren't their fans. I do think the camera setup was to blame because it wasn't positioned well to capture the choreography, and Gnarly as a song choice was interesting. It's very polarizing to a lot of people, understandably. It's hyper pop. At the same time, it's supposed to be that way, and for me it was a cultural reset when I first heard it, but to a lot of people it's just called brain rot. The vocals also weren't that great, but the song is more of a shouty song rather than one that showcases lyricism and complexity. I think personally they should have just done a medley of their biggest hits. I also think they were really nervous because it's the Grammys, so give them some slack. I will say though, the outfits for the red carpet were just not that great. I don't get what they were going for here. And to be honest, I'm a little old for Katseye. As a 30-year-old, I'm like that Jamie Lee Curtis meme. I don't get the virality of their little skits online, like when they're dancing, but the girl one is hilarious. But I do like their sound and their music, and I like that they are this global girl group. But now the cracks that I saw before from the beginning are more like chasms. To me now, after Manon declared her hiatus, it's so obvious how differently aligned the members are from one another. I think a lot of it also comes with age, as Manon is now 23 and probably rethinking her life and what she wants, and that's fine and something we should normalize. We dangle international fame in front of preteen and teen girls as if it's something to be coveted and will solve all of your problems because you'll be rich, and that is nice. And of course, as an artist, it's nice to have your art platformed on such a large scale, but as Sophia said, no one is capable of handling millions of comments a day or international fame in general. It's just too much for one person to bear, not to mention at extremely young ages. Yoonchae just turned 18. From what I can see, a lot of the Katseye members have come from wealthy backgrounds, notably Lara and Sophia, and these girls plus Daniela and Megan have been training for this moment in the spotlight for years since childhood, and now with Katseye they're finally getting their big global break to be heard and seen. For Lara and Sophia and even Daniela, who have come from entertainment backgrounds, this is their time to make something separate from that of their parents and family. For Megan, this is her big break after playing background roles and posting on YouTube and even being a J-pop trainee at one point. Similarly, Yoonchae, who is only 18 again, has been training to debut with a girl group since middle school. I'm not saying Manon wants to be in Katseye less, but these girls have been in the entertainment industry and know the grind since childhood, unlike Manon, who is more of an outsider to this hustle and bustle work life and who just started later, and again, that's fine. These other members are using their moment in Katseye to, I think, leverage leverage their fame into a further career in acting, music, or entertainment, or even modeling and brand deals like Blackpink has. Manon, I think, is motivated to stay, but not under conditions that are clearly unacceptable to her and where she's not feeling supported by the higher-ups. And I stand by that. Normalize not taking exploitation. I think perhaps part of her hiatus could be due to creative control over their music and image, and even not wanting to be around entitled fans who post videos comparing members' absences to each other in live performances, which fans do. Like, what is the point of that? And honestly, entitled fan culture is horrible even for big stars like Jennie, who was called a bitch by fans to her face because she was tired and didn't want to sign their autographs. She ended up signing them anyway in the end, but you can tell she just wasn't in the mood. Manon has gone on little breaks before, and the fans and anti-fans alike are always asking, where is she? Of course she's not here, etc. She doesn't need to put up with that shit. I just think of label disputes and members getting caught up in the crossfire like Danielle from New Jeans being sued, and how broken the entire system of K-pop is and fame in general. Or maybe the system is working exactly like it's supposed to, protecting labels and corporations while profiting off of young girls' dreams and bodies. In the end, the group as a whole has been good at clapping back at fans when they feel like a line has been crossed, like on Weverse, but it shouldn't just be up to them to manage that and to moderate that. The label has to step in and say no to racism. That's like the least they can do. They claim to care about diversity, but in reality, again, it's all performative, just like their ads and brand collabs. All they saw when they created Katseye as a global group was dollar signs and internet virality, but that can only take them so far, and I'm sure their chickens are coming home to roost. In a February article from The Cut entitled Katseye's Day Off, Manon said, America has a very different culture when it comes to work-life balance. You guys are all about the grind and hustle. In Switzerland, if you're sick, you take a day off. No one's going to expect you to go to work. From what I can see, Switzerland does have sick leave policies for all of their employees, and if you're an employer who doesn't have sickness daily benefits insurance, then you're still entitled to be paid as an employee for the days you don't come in, or you can't come in. Unlike in the US, where Chappell Roan demanded health insurance coverage for label employees at the Grammys. Manon brings up an important cultural difference between the US and Switzerland in that it's not normal to be expected to work all the time, to have work consume your life and not be able to have that work-life balance. It's not right to put your health on the back burner just to make more money or to work more to please your boss, and I think in places with social safety nets, that's easier said than done, and that is a good norm to have. Because the US has very little sick leave compared to Swiss employees, it's hard for those in the US to just miss work, not only because of the lack of social safety net, but because of this mindset that we have of like the rise and grind. The more work you do, the more valued you are in society because you're being productive. And when you're not being productive, you become anxious. And that's not good for our health, but that's the culture in which we live. I hope one day we can have a cultural shift and societal shift so we can understand people like Manon better and her perspective on putting her mental and physical health before burning and crashing out like so many of us do. Knowing your limits and when to take a step back is a good thing. Though of course we don't know the full story as to why she's on a hiatus. This could be of her own choice. This could be being forced out by the label. But also, this isn't the first time she's taken time out of work to have a life and to just take it easy and be a person. In the US, we call that being lazy. But in the rest of the world, we just see that as enjoying life. I think it's easy for us to think of entertainers as not working because they're living their dream, when no, for these young girls in Katseye at least, it is work to be a public figure, to be an entertainer, and to be open to the public, but also still have privacy and maintain some sort of normalcy. It's an impossible tightrope to walk, despite it being very profitable. And honestly, I don't even know how much these girls are being paid to be in Katseye. Of course, some of them do come from wealth, so there's that they can fall back on. I don't know about some of the other members who aren't from entertainment backgrounds or who may not have something to fall back on, so that is also concerning to me. Are they even making a profit being in this group, or are they being paid with like their dream? Oh, you're getting your dream, so we're not going to pay you X, Y, or Z. What do you do is usually answered in the US with your job title, not what do you do as in what do you like to do? How do you enjoy life? How do you spend your time on this earth? And that answer should not just be defined by your job. I think for Megan and Daniela and even Lara and Sophia, they have this immigrant mindset of they need to work and they need to show that they're not lazy, that they fit into this US mold and make their immigration worth it to their family and make their family proud. And again, this is just me projecting, but they're more invested in work culture because of how they were raised. You gotta hustle. That's just how life is. It's just a different mindset. I don't think one is necessarily worse than the other, but I don't think it's fair to put so much pressure on kids to make your family proud, which does tend to happen in immigrant households because there's this need to prove your worth and make the hardship of your parents worth it, when that's just too much for a kid to bear. Megan's mom has even been called like a tiger mom or a dragon mom. Yoon Chae, on the other hand, is from South Korea and has been working in a very high pressure environment for a long time. South Korea is known for long and hard working hours, and work is all consuming there, so that's their norm. I personally don't think hybe realized when they were forming this group about like how a global girl group would actually operate, how someone from Switzerland would deal with working under South Korean management or even US management. They just assumed that everyone would look up to the South Korean work ethic and be like on board with working more than 40 hours a week. It sounds utopic on the outset, an international girl group cultures blending and coming together, but in reality it's more complex than that, especially again when hybe thinks that their South Korean trainee method is the best method in existence because it pushes people to their limits rather than taking breaks and caring about the person and individual you're using to profit. It's dehumanizing, and I think Manon and perhaps other members are waking up to that. So in this video I discussed Manon's hiatus from Katseye and why I think it was sadly inevitable, partly due to the anti-blackness from South Korean culture and Hollywood culture quite frankly, as well as entitled fan culture and how Manon was set up to fail since Dream Academy by being given this lazy storyline and making her out as an enemy who didn't deserve to be there, an outsider. I also talked about how she might have wanted to take a break due to monetary reasons and maybe isn't being given a fair share of her worth because for the brand of Katseye, she is the main visual. They want her face, but nothing else. hybe wanted diversity and thought that would assuage comments about racism from their brand, but obviously that was naive, and now they're reaping what they sowed. All I can say now is that I hope Manon does whatever makes her the happiest, and I will be there to support whatever that is. Thank you for watching, and let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.